For thousands of miles, there is nothing but sand, rock, and lethal heat. The environment is entirely hostile to human biology. Yet, out of this barren wasteland rose structures of such massive proportions that we are still analyzing the mechanical precision required to build them. The only reason human beings could survive here to build anything at all is due to a single geographic anomaly. Slicing through the arid landscape is the Nile River, creating a vibrant green strip of vegetation directly pressed against the lifeless desert. This map shows how the Nile behaves on a seasonal loop. Every year, the river reliably floods its banks, depositing a thick layer of rich, dark soil. This predictable flood essentially weaponized agriculture, transforming a deadly desert into a highly productive food engine. Because the people watched this cycle year after year, the land drying up into dust, then springing back to life with the floodwater, they adopted a specific cultural lens. To them, life was not a straight line. It was a continuous, repeating loop. Managing all that floodwater and newly fertile land required massive logistical coordination. Around 3100 BCE, a ruler named Narmer successfully brought the scattered farming communities of Upper and Lower Egypt together under one centralized administration. This unification generated immense wealth and concentrated absolute power at the top. The rulers of this new kingdom, known as pharaohs, were considered actual living gods by their people, commanding unquestioned authority. But this divine status created an awkward biological reality. Even rulers age, get sick, and expire. If a pharaoh is a god, physical death presents a massive logical contradiction. To solve this contradiction, the society dedicated its wealth to a multi-generational project. That primary objective became remarkably straightforward: build a physical infrastructure that could carry their presence and their possessions into a permanent afterlife. To the Egyptians, passing away was simply a transition to the next world. But there was a catch. The eternal soul required an intact physical body to anchor it to existence. They could not rely on magic to keep the body intact. They developed mummification. This was a highly clinical process designed to deliberately halt biological decay, draining fluids and carefully wrapping the body to preserve the flesh indefinitely. A preserved body alone could not guarantee survival in the next world. The deceased required actual logistics. Rulers were buried alongside heavy physical treasures, preserved food, and specialized tools to sustain them during their journey. But even a perfectly preserved biological vessel is fragile. To ensure their place in eternity, these bodies required impenetrable, long-lasting defenses to protect them from the elements and from thieves. During the age of the pyramids, rulers commissioned massive monuments to house their tombs. The peak of this effort is the Great Pyramid at Giza, designed as an eternal fortress for his remains. Standing 147 meters tall, it remained the tallest man-made structure on Earth for 4,000 years. The small human figures at the base reveal how out of scale these rough-hewn blocks truly are. This schematic illustrates the logistics required to build it. Without modern machinery, workers floated millions of massive stone blocks down the Nile on barges. From there, human labor dragged the stones up carefully calculated inclined ramps, placing them with exact spatial precision. The coordination required to move these millions of stone blocks reflects a society that prioritized its total economic and physical output to build for the next life. The focus on creating permanent structures and preserving the dead accelerated progress across their entire society. Egyptian physicians mapped human anatomy, engineers developed complex irrigation networks, and trade brought in exotic goods. They also developed a way to make their ideas as permanent as their buildings. Hieroglyphics functioned as a highly durable information technology, allowing them to lock their history, laws, and religious spells directly into solid rock. With this stable foundation, later rulers pushed their borders outward. Pharaohs like Hatshepsut established vast diplomatic ties, while Ramses II led military campaigns and commissioned colossal monuments directly into immovable cliffs. At its absolute peak, this civilization had consolidated incredible wealth, vast territory, and immense structural permanence. For thousands of years, the empire appeared immune to the decay of time. Yet for all their stone monuments, the actual political state was prone to very earthly problems. Centuries of power struggles and internal political instability eventually fractured the kingdom's defenses. These internal crises, combined with a weakening economy, made it increasingly difficult to defend the borders against outside threats. This vulnerability invited a cascade of foreign conquerors. Over the centuries, the Assyrians and Persians seized control of the territory. Eventually, the arrival of Greek rule under Alexander the Great stripped away the last remnants of Egyptian independence. By the time the territory was fully absorbed into the Roman Empire, the line of the pharaohs had come to an end. The physical age of the pharaohs had died, and the earthly kingdom was no more. For millennia, the empire lay buried and silent beneath the sand. But in 1922, a team of archaeologists broke through the sealed doors of a hidden tomb in the Valley of the Kings, cracking open the past. Inside, they found the practically untouched burial chamber of a short-lived pharaoh named Tutankhamun. Resting in the dark was this perfectly intact, glowing gold and lapis lazuli mask. The volume of wealth, intricate artistry, and undisturbed history packed into this single space ignited an immediate global fascination. Humanity was suddenly staring face to face with a world that had been silent for thousands of years. The political state of ancient Egypt was eventually destroyed by internal conflict and foreign armies. But by pouring their absolute best engineering, art, and science into the pursuit of the afterlife, they actually succeeded. Their physical monuments survived long enough to secure true immortality in the memory of humanity.